This is SportsCenter Live.
Well, there is a hole in the boat, or at Lambeau Field tonight.
It all began with a hole in the wall. A hole in the wall shouldn't be there at all.
Well, he reportedly punched this hole in the wall after the press conference, and our Sal Paolantonio also spoke to somebody who saw that, as well as witnessed him banging his head on the wall. I'm sure that's how Ben McAdoo feels today after the week they had, which started on Monday with Odell Beckham Jr. spending his day off in Miami on that yacht, and then they came into Green Bay today and lost to the Packers.
It was a rough day for Miami as well. The Miami Dolphins getting blown out by the Steelers. But the story of this one was going into it, we thought this would be the marquee matchup. The Giants going into Lambeau Field, where they won in 07, where they won in 11, and then won the Super Bowl both those years. Not this time, Eli. No siree, Bob, says Aaron Rodgers. Eli had a 2-0 record at Lambeau. Rodgers, 2-2 record at Lambeau in the postseason. But Odell Beckham, man, you got to catch that. You're a superstar. He knows it. You got to catch it. It might not have been a perfect pass, but that's one of two really big drops on the day for OBJ. Second quarter, this was the big loss of the day for the Packers. They're down 3-0, and Jordy Nelson drops it and gets hit. Leon Hall got him in his hip area. Nelson would go to the locker room for x-rays. He would not return. And that'll be the story in Green Bay going forward this week. Is he going to be able to play against the Cowboys on Sunday? It's 6-0 Giants with 2.5 to play in the first half. And this is when Aaron Rodgers just goes vintage Rodgers. Dancing around, buying time, keeping his head up, and finding Davante Adams. Look at the quarterback clock. Head on a swivel the whole way, and just a sliver of space for Adams. Rodgers sneaks it through. So he can do that, and he can also just throw it up and know that one of his guys is going to come down with it, because it happens constantly for Green Bay. Hail Mary at the end of the first half, full of grace for the Cheeseheads. Randall Cobb, back of the end zone. It's a push-off, sure. It wasn't called, though. And it usually isn't called on Hail Marys. Here's how it sounded on Packers radio as Green Bay goes up 8 at the break.
Rodgers back, he rolls right, sets. Now he's going to rainbow one high into the end zone. The ball's traveling, tipped up and caught for a touchdown on the Hail Mary in the back of the end zone.
And we got to flash it back, because 5 years ago it was the Giants doing it at the end of the first half. Same end zone. Hakeem Nicks bringing that in, and that catapulted the Giants to a victory and an eventual Super Bowl championship. Maybe that will be the theme for the Packers this season as they go for a 7th straight win. Fourth quarter, Green Bay salting it away. Rodgers again to Cobb, who had 3 touchdown receptions on this day in the absence of Jordy Nelson. They do all this damage after Nelson leaves. And then a wild play here. Everyone thinks that this is an incomplete pass, except a couple Packers, including Clay Matthews, who recovers it. Eli face. That was a fumble that was reviewed, and the Packers score 38 points basically in a half. 38-13. Green Bay exercising the demons of Eli Manning and the Giants at Lambeau Field. Rodgers again with no interceptions. That means that going into next week's game in Dallas, he will have gone 2 full months without throwing a pick. Here is old discount double check.
I was thinking pre-snap about where we're at in the field and kind of trying to judge how far I was going to drop back. But I think I threw from about the 50. And in this type of weather with that height on the ball, it's tough to throw out of the end zone.
That's the right call there. It's 6 seconds, and to throw that ball with the arc. That's really the key to it. It gives your receivers a chance to catch that ball, and Randall Cobb just made an excellent instinctive play.
That's 3 in the last calendar year or so, a little more than that, but it's fun every single time. It's fun. Yeah, I think we're starting to to believe anytime that ball goes up there, we got a chance.
My job on that play is to kind of box out and give our jumper a little bit of space to jump, but I got behind the defense and I was able to nudge a guy and make the catch.
Randall being back healthy, you know, I said it this week in my press conference, we're better with 18 on the field, and he showed it tonight. He made a ton of plays for us.
And 38 points is the most points the Giants have allowed all season going forward. Packers are not looking too good as far as Jordy Nelson returning to action. It is a rib injury. Not sure yet if there are any broken ribs, like McCarthy didn't say, but it doesn't look like he is going to be the healthiest come next week. How about the other wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr.? It was a rough day for him.
There was a lot of opportunities early on, and football is really a game of momentum. And we had a couple chances, you know, instead of having 6 points, to have 14 points early on in the game, and you just put the pressure on them, and we didn't come out and really make those plays. You know, we ended up with only 13 points, but there were so many opportunities in the game for it to go the other way.
You know, just didn't make some key plays at times, whether it's third downs or some shots in the end zone or some other opportunities that you know, we just didn't, you know, we didn't execute well enough from all points offensively. Didn't score enough points and you know, just kept them in the game, and then they did a good job.
You know, I'm not sure how many targets Odell had. I thought we had an opportunity to get him the ball a few times. Ball skills weren't great today, and I thought Eli was fairly sharp throwing it. But in the elements, you got to handle the ball better.
Why are you looking at a hole in the wall? Well, it is the biggest story in sports and the biggest story on ESPN.com right now. That's because reportedly Odell Beckham Jr. punched it at Lambeau Field right after we saw him speaking right at the podium there. Sal Paolantonio joining us from Green Bay. Sal, we saw Odell Beckham Jr. at the podium answering questions. He seemed calm. We just saw the picture of the hole. What did you see and what are you hearing, Sal?
Well, I was in the press conference with Odell Beckham Jr., and then Eli Manning came to the podium. And I was asking Eli Manning about Odell Beckham Jr. being inconsolable in the post-game locker room. And Eli Manning basically admitted that, you know, he was very emotional after the game, he being Odell Beckham. And then we heard a pounding on the walls outside the interview room. So I went outside the interview room to see what was going on. Odell Beckham Jr. came by me, and I was standing there talking to the grounds crew, and they all said that Odell Beckham Jr. put the hole in the wall. They didn't see him because they were apparently inside the grounds crew office. There's photographs of it. We took it. There's video of it. And then a short while after that, NFL security was brought up, and they started interviewing members of the ground crew. But one member of the ground crew, Greg Wolf, said that he was pretty certain that the hole in the wall was caused by Odell Beckham Jr.
So you had the chance to go into the locker room after all of this. What were the players saying? What was everyone talking about in there?
No, the players had already cleared out, Diana. I did go into the locker room to try to track down Giants public relations staff. They said they were aware of the incident and they were looking into it, but they had no comment. I did talk to the NFL security member who was interviewing members of the ground crew afterwards. He said that he's going to call some of them on their cell phone later on to get their story straight. But right now he's got a bunch of hearsay, and he doesn't know exactly what went on. Hey, listen, players get emotional after games. We've seen players punch holes in the walls here in this locker room in Foxborough. It happens. But I've never seen it outside the locker room on a wall outside the grounds crew. It took everybody by surprise. After that alleged incident happened, I followed Odell Beckham Jr. towards the Giants locker room, and I did see him bang his head against the wall. And then a member of the Giants security got between he and I and closed the door, and that was that.
Yes, certainly cannot be an easy time for Odell Beckham Jr. We know he received a lot of heat after that Monday day off, spending his time on that yacht in Miami. Now they are done with this season. Obviously, quite emotional. Sal Paolantonio, thank you so much. He's got the latest from Green Bay.
Coach Herm Edwards is here with us now, also former player Herm Edwards. I could see you as a player or as a coach after a loss like that doing something like you get animated on SportsCenter just talking about this stuff.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of emotion that goes into athletics, and especially when you have hard losses like this, a playoff loss. Now your season is done, and you think of Odell Beckham. He's an emotional guy. This is not surprising to me. If you know, did he hit a wall? Okay, did he throw a chair? I've seen worse than this in my time.
Okay, tell me what you would tell him then as Ben McAdoo, as his head coach.
Well, I just think that, you know, I thought what he did, he rid himself of his emotions before he would talk to the press. That was smart. Because if he'd had an outburst during the press, it gets worse for this poor guy, right? He went up there and he spoke. He was very calm as he spoke, but he let his emotions out when his game ended. And there's probably some other players that let it out as well. But the cameras are always on this young man, and he has to realize that. Whatever he does, he's a star. He didn't have one of his better games, by the way. This team didn't play well. A lot of drop passes, okay? And they'll mention, well, was it the boat? I don't know if it was the boat or not. They dropped a lot of balls. This team dropped a lot of balls this season, 16, by the way. Right. He dropped 7 this season. So this was a game, in my opinion, that early, the Giants really had some momentum but didn't score and take advantage of the
scored there.
opportunities.
He dropped it right there.
And so, you know, you think about Green Bay, their first 5 possessions, they punted. They punted the football. So Green Bay was really not going real well. And then all of a sudden, the last 2 possessions, they score. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, the switch changes. Aaron Rodgers becomes the Aaron Rodgers that won 6 in a row, and he goes off on a tangent the second half.
How important do you think this was for Aaron Rodgers? And I know it's just a wild card win, but just for Aaron Rodgers to finally get that Eli Manning monkey off his back.
Look, you mentioned it, because Aaron Rodgers is well aware of what people are saying. He's won 6 in a row. Here comes the Giants and Eli Manning, the hot Giants who've come in there before and beaten the Green Bay Packers team at home. And Aaron Rodgers, and the way his mindset is, he loves competition. He needed to win this game. Just to show people, you know what, I'm Aaron Rodgers, okay? I'm the MVP candidate. Might win it this year, by the way. And you're talking about the Hail Mary. I've been involved in football for a long time at a lot of different levels. Pro football, 30 years. This is the best Hail Mary quarterback I've ever seen. It's just unbelievable. The timing of how he throws the ball and gives a guy a chance to catch it is unbelievable. And every time he throws one, I was sitting in there watching it with everybody else. And as this thing was unfolding, I said, this is going to get completed. Because I saw Randall.
You weren't the only one. Our producer, Jonathan Fink, said the same thing. He's a Giants fan. As soon as it went up, he said it's going to be.
And I watched Randall Cobb, and I said, no one is boxing out Randall Cobb as he's running down. And I said, this thing's going to get caught. And sure enough, he catches it.
With a little bit of a shove, but
well, you know what?
They're not going to call that.
They never call pass interference on a Hail Mary. Just remember that.
I see you got your Dallas Cowboys colors on.
Well, I don't know about Dallas Cowboys. Now, wait a minute, I'm Philadelphia Eagle now. Watch
I know that. I know that. But are you picking the Cowboys next week over the Packers?
I'm not picking yet. I'm going to wait.
Okay.
I'm going to wait. Let me let this simmer right now. Let me just let it simmer.
You got a lot. You got a lot of hits.
Get a lot of stuff going on right now.
NFL Live, NFL Insiders.
Just let it simmer. So it's not even Monday yet, and you're asking me to pick already.
It's almost, man.
Just let it
Tomorrow's going to be filled up by the college football stuff.
No, tomorrow's going to be filled up with Odell Beckham. Can you see that the New York papers, the backs of some of those papers tonight? They're printing it right now. Shipwreck, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something about a hole in a boat.
Oh my goodness.
That's Herm Edwards, animated but not punching.
No, I wouldn't do that.
The Giants win.